How can we make sense of all the changes that we have gone through over the last few years, both on a collective level between the pandemic and ecological crisis, and as a consequence, on a personal level? The last few years have been particularly challenging. So, welcome to our last session of On Your Uniqueness, which has been a thrilling journey for us, filled with so many lessons. And we thought with this last session that it would give us an opportunity just to go through questions which you may have, and we've often heard throughout our experience as well. So, on that note, basically, on one hand, the first reaction to the pandemic felt very chaotic, prompting us to review our values and our way of living. And on the other hand, it may have also put some old unhelpful behaviors on hold, but didn't make them go away. So, realizing this, Maida and I, with our corporate backgrounds and also being entrepreneurs, business coaches on Maida's part, we came together to share with you our process and strategies that have been helping us to navigate through difficult times, and on so many different levels. So we do hope our own uniqueness series has been very helpful to you. And on this final series, we would like to take the opportunity, as I've mentioned before, to answer your questions. And then we'll also be providing you resources, additional resources, as we usually do, to just food for thought, to help you to think further in terms of your professional and personal development progression. So, on that note, we're going to head into this discussion section where Maida is going to lead on this. So, over to you, Maida.
And thank you, Chico. And let me say more exactly that I'm really very sad. This is our last session because for me it started with a very casual discussion, and it ended up being a series of 11 videos where we had a lot of fun together. We have learned from each other. We have collaborated in a very flowy way. We have differences of opinions, but at the same time, it was never a hurdle. There was a space for each of us. There was a place for each of us to come with what we have learned and to share it with everyone. And I would like to take this occasion to say as well that this is really a very good example of how things should, the word should, happen in real life. That quite often the big transformation happen from these little interactions that start like nothing, and all of a sudden a new door opens, and it's a whole library of new things and new joys and new experiences that come to us. So thank you for being the messenger here to me, Chico, and thank you for everyone who has made this series possible by networking with us and by sending us your questions. And I will start just by giving you a couple of takeaways. As Chico would say, the lesson learned. Um, and as always, you take whatever works for you. Whatever doesn't, you can either leave it on the side and wait for it for the time when the time is right, or you can just completely ignore it and shove it, and it's fine too. It's there's no right or wrong in anything, but only our own personal experiences and what we do with it. So a couple of lesson learned before we dive into the Q&As. First and foremost, everything and everyone is a teacher. As I was mentioning, Chico and I, we learned from each other, but also all of our previous experience is also something that was presented to us as a learning lesson and an opportunity for us to either take a next step or decide that this is exactly where we want to be and stay there. But it's giving us choices. And real freedom really is about being able to make choices. And the extended freedom is when we make choices from a conscious, um, integrated, mindful side of ourselves rather than from our fears or rather than from our wounds. Which takes me to the second point is never ignore the negative, never ignore the bad self-talk. Everything here is again a messenger and a teacher, and it's here just to show us that we have a discomfort somewhere and that needs to be addressed. The idea here, and as Chico says a lot, self-limiting beliefs is don't let these more or less transient emotions define you and stop you from just going the next step. Because the idea is we're all going to be upset, we're all going to be wounded, we're all going to be tried, but these are places where we can know more about ourselves and decide what we want to take, what we want to leave. But certainly, our purpose in life is not to stay in these kind of unhelpful places. So it gets me to our first Q&A that I'm going to ask you to address for us, Chico, is fear of change. How do you deal with fear of change? How do you deal maybe with an extension of fear of change, which is a fear of failure? And how do you move yourself beyond all of these self inflicted limitations and away from any kind of self sabotaging behavior?
Okay, good question. And this is a question that resonates with a lot of people. But before I hop on to answering that, I'll just like to say mutually everything that Maida said before about our working relationship. I agree 1,000%. And it's a key example as well of what mutually beneficial relationships can do, can help in terms of assisting to overcome self-limiting beliefs or the things that hold you back. Those irritating, annoying voices you're constantly hearing
Oh, yes.
about the change, yes, the change or showing up consistently. Maida has been somebody who's held me to account in terms of showing up every Friday when we were recording or every Wednesday when we were prepping. There was, calendar and goals for us to persevere through. So that's just one example. But even before getting to that, the things that have helped me just in terms of moving from like an employee mindset to an entrepreneurship mindset was about moving the thoughts outside of my head and writing them down. Okay, so it transforms something as a first step. Then you're able to actually analyze the validity in those thoughts. Okay, so those like fear mongering or scary thoughts that you may be thinking, if I take this step, what's the worst that can happen? And weighing them up to look at, is it an actual reality? And if you can challenge yourself independently, the next best thing is to find mentors, groups, coaches in different aspects of your life. So whether it be career progression, that's something that Maida focuses on. Starting up a business, that's something I focus on. A health coach, I've seen like health coaches, detox, you name it. So it's looking at a holistic overview about which particular area do you need support in. And prior to us hopping on this call, we were talking about the hindrance of cost when it comes to
Of course.
yes, to coaching, that most people always put a blockage in front of them because when they hear the cost about coaching, they think, oh no, it's too expensive. Okay, but it's about flipping it the other way around and thinking about quality of lifestyle. Is it worth sacrificing the next best outfit, shoes, handbag, the next holiday to invest in what you're looking to progress in your area of life? so that you have a long-term future where you can still enjoy those things, but you've moved beyond those self-limiting beliefs. And I would also ask the same question to Maida: is what other things do you think help in terms of overcoming fear and self-limiting beliefs?
So, like for you, I'm big on journaling and putting all of it down, and I'm big as well as using support. So, I'm definitely a big fan of therapy, of coaching, of any kind of support that comes with a human who is there to reflect back my blind spots to me as well, because the blind spots are exactly that. We don't see them, but they are always there, and this is how we go into these stories that we tell ourselves that we can and cannot do. The other thing as well that I would like to add is fear of change. Sometimes when things need to happen, they will happen whether we agree or not. And Chico and I, we have been through several of these health challenges
Oh,
where it wasn't
yes.
really a choice, not that I know of. But you know what? It happened. So we can fear it, of course, we can feel the fear, but at some point, we also need to do something about it. And I deal with the fear of change by acknowledging that there are part of a change that I really don't like, and I really don't want that to happen. I do also some pros and cons, and I also train myself to take smaller risks every day. So my brain sees that, hey, when I go outside my comfort zone, like right now being on live stream, this is very much outside my comfort zone because what if, and it's okay. I'm going to make mistakes, but the next time will be better and the following will be even better. So going into pros and cons, getting ready as well, as Chico was saying before, all of our lives we trained. We didn't just throw ourselves in the water to see if we can swim. We were really prepared. We weren't ready, we're never ready, but we can take the steps to be prepared so that we are showing up for our lives, for ourselves, and for our purpose, rather again than waiting for life to push us. So either we learn how to fly or we wait for life to push us, and then, well, we have to. It's a choice. Again, there is no right or wrong. I don't think there is any right or wrong. I also think as well that sometimes we judge ourselves too harshly, and we go into, oh well, I have the fear of change and I'm bad, and I have the fear of failing and I'm bad, and we're only humans. And if we go back to what we were discussing initially, Chico,
Hmm.
everything is a teacher.
Indeed.
And for us, it's about making conscious choices. Is that really what I want? Is this decision that I'm making is from a place of fear, which is fine, right? We have to survive too, or is it from a place of joy? And then we continue and we go on with that very long process that is our hero's journey here in life. So the next question for you, Chico, is we had several of the ladies asking us, I cannot change right now. I cannot go into a new job. I cannot start an online business. I have too many constraints. What do you advise me to do?
Okay, so on this question, I'll play like the devil's advocate. I think all of those factors, yes, they're very important, but another aspect of it is intentional. That it's easier to make excuses. And I'll put my hand up, where I used to make numerous excuses because internally I was dreading so many things. I was dreading the fear of moving into the unknown. I was fearful of taking like accountability. And what if I failed, or what if I became too successful to the point that people saw me, people I knew, or it became too unmanageable. So those are blocks that you may be putting in front of you intentionally. And what Maida said before is about being fully present and being fully aware. And part of that is also acknowledging what the blockages are. So being intuitive and go back to the things about writing down goals, smart, realistic goals, because change itself doesn't happen overnight. We learn new habits. I remember the first challenge I ever did on mindset challenges, if they're still out there, was on Facebook because I wanted to overcome fears and balance work life lifestyle. And one of the things that I learned from that, it takes beyond 21 days to develop a new habit. So if you feel like work or personal life is a barrier, it's about writing down smart goals and being realistic about when you can achieve those goals. And as Maida mentioned, writing down small, achievable, realistic goals, and then increasing them incrementally as you go along. And also that can also just be not that it, on your own. Okay, it's good to have, whether it's just a professional partner in terms of accountability, somebody who thinks like you, and in terms of mindset and where you want to progress to, or where they've already achieved other things, a mentor, a coach. I'll go back to those, those type of individuals, because they will challenge you to acknowledge those excuses. And I've made many, and there've been coaches who've challenged me to have a different perspective, to challenge myself, that inner voice that says, no, 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 you can't manage work life and personal life at the same time to start a business. You can. That's what I can say. You definitely can. What about you, Maida, just in terms of professional settings where somebody believes that they still need to learn more
Mm.
before they can move to like the next career progression, or before they can transition into something more independent for themselves?
Oh, absolutely. So I'm going to give you something an image that I really like, which is that we have different comfort zones. Each of us has several layers of comfort zone. There is the comfort zone where we are permanently struggling, right? This is like, imagine me needing to go and becoming an astronaut. It's a steep learning curve, and it's, as you said, not achievable. It's not a smart goal, right? Because by definition, it's not achievable in the short to medium term, maybe in the longer term, but it's right now it's very difficult. It would be very difficult for me to get there. There is the comfort zone where, so there, this for me is the comfort, it's stretching outside this comfort zone. We are permanently going against the grain, permanently going against the flow because it's not for us. The second comfort zone is the comfort zone where we are so used to do the same things on and on and on that it becomes extremely comfortable to the point where we are completely stagnating. And this is where we go into feeling a bit funky about ourselves, not feeling achieved, not feeling energized, because, hey, I've done it 20 times, the same problems, the same answers, and again, the same problem. It's like a groundhog day that never ends. And the third comfort zone, which is where I wish we all go to, this for me is our zone of genius. And
Oh,
this
yeah.
is a place where where we it's not without challenges. Obstacles will be there. We will have obstacles, will be tried, will be tested. But there is something inside of us that says, you can do it. Just push yourself, stop listening to these voices. And if these voices persist, then as we were saying before, let's take a second and listen to what they have to say. Your imposter syndrome is not here to sabotage you. It could, but it's not. Essentially, it might be a part of you that says, you know what, becoming an astronaut right now, don't quit your job for that. It might not be a good idea right now. This is a good imposter syndrome. When you are in a job in a corporate, your imposter syndrome can tell you maybe the job that you are looking for right now is a bit out of your league, but not so much. So let's work together so that we build a set skills for you, or a new set of knowledge, or a new network for you, so that when you are at 80 or 70, whatever works for you, ready to take that job, you will go there without doubting too much yourself. So this is where we go into our zone of genius, because we are in a place of a lot of flow, very little resistance, and when the resistance comes, we know how to deal with it. We sit, we listen, we don't plow through, but we take our time to understand, where do I feel that I'm not in my integrity? Where do I feel that I'm lying to myself? Where do I feel that I'm playing too small because I'm scared of failing, of succeeding, of making other people jealous? We can go into a lot of those. And then I was like, is that what I really want? And if the answer is yes, then we go for it. We go for it. We go for it knowing that, again, we are supported, that even if we don't feel right now that everything is aligned for us, the simple fact that we are taking a step is going to create a lot of energy inside of our bodies, and will put up into a mindset where we are feeling we are working for ourselves rather than for everybody else. And this takes me to the next question, Chico, for you is going back to a real office. We had this question several times as well, is a lot of women are dreading going back to the office because it's a change of routine. Working from home was already a change of routine, and now up another one. But also, they feel that they might not be able to achieve a certain work-life balance that they have felt during the pandemic. Albeit for a lot of them, they had also to work with their children, with sometimes a spouse, and the environment. So how when you have these kind of changes, what is your first go-to strategy?
I think first of all is to acknowledge that it has been a challenging time, and also to applaud you for your best efforts through this challenging time. And hopefully you also have employers who do provide that additional support, where you have somebody who you can talk to and be able to feel open about sharing your anxieties. And I can understand the reason why, just in terms of, I hear so many people talking about how they can't envision commuting 3 hours or 2 hours to work anymore, because mindset and quality of lifestyle, it's changed, as a result of the pandemic. So this is also a positive, because what it has done is given you some insight into what you truly want and what a better quality lifestyle looks like. And again, it's also about planning. Not everything will happen immediately. Seeking flexible working opportunities if that's possible. I've had, when I was in my 9 to 5 job, I had close working relationships with managers, and was able to request flexible, and this was pre the pandemic, flexible working opportunities. So I think starting with your employer, because again, the anxiety might be because you might lose your job, so start off there, and then have a plan about looking at other potential opportunities, such as remote working. And there's going to be an increase in those jobs now, or there already is, because millions have resigned, across. Well, I would focus on the US at the moment. That's the numbers, as millions, have resigned. So looking for remote jobs, and also looking at probably moving. What I started off with was independent contracting as a leverage, so that you're just not throwing yourself out there with no financial backup.
Yeah.
And the other aspect is about well-being in mental health. So if you're overly stressed, it's also finding opportunities to speak to people who are specialists in that area, health professionals, to help you look at other areas where you might not have considered before, to help ease you back into work, or to choose alternative paths of work lifestyle. And that's what I can think of for now. I don't know if there's anything else, Maida, that you would want to add.
it has been pretty comprehensive and a pretty good summary of what I would have said. I want to add one thing that I think is very important and that you mentioned, Chico, is speak up.
Indeed.
Go to your manager and tell them, but be ready as well to negotiate and find a win-win. I often find that we have the tendency to not go and talk to our managers for personal reasons, or when we do need something, or when we want a raise or promotion, because he or she is going to say no. So you don't know that. You get ready for it, but you don't know that. And the second thing is we go into the mentality of all or nothing. But it's not all or nothing. We're going to talk here about collaboration. We're going to talk here about co-creation. The same way Chico and I, we co-created this series, you in the office, you are co-creating with your colleagues, you are co-creating with your teams, you are co-creating with your management. It has to be a win-win situation for everybody to be on the same page and for everybody to be supportive. So there will need to be some concessions. There will need to be some stretching outside the comfort zone. There will be some, not necessarily wanting to do it, but hey, if I can have a day or two at home, maybe the rest can I can live with it. So define what is your zone of what's tolerable and what you really want and what you are ready to let go. And please just go and speak up and see what happens. And as Chico said, there are also other ways for you to achieve work-life balance as well. Chico discussed everything that is mental health care as well. Of course, very, very important. But I'm going also to introduce the concept that work-life balance is not something that is rigid or close or very like cookie cutter. It's a very personal thing. And what I would like for you as you are returning back to work is to see what brings you joy or brings you grounding or some form of being challenged and achieved throughout your day. And decide after that what kind of routine you want to have, including going to the office. So for some people, it could be doing a quick meditation in the morning, some exercise, something light. Then you commute. It might be the occasion for you to read a book or listen to a podcast. It can create some healthy boundaries as well between the work and the personal life, which has been completely shattered during the pandemic, where a lot of the people that I worked with have been telling me, well, what my management doesn't understand is that I used to work 12 hours a day because I was home. Now I need to add at least 2 hours of commuting plus all the rest. So I'm not going to produce the same amount of work. And you know what? It's fine too. It's totally fine too.
Definitely. And then one of the things as what I was coming to mind as you were talking, money factors.
Mm.
Okay, where people might feel limited due to financial reasons to leave their current job. How would you advise them on that?
Well, first, budget.
Yeah,
know your budget. Know what your expenses are. Don't again, money is not going to flow to us because we're looking at a board. One of those ideas that if I obsess over money, it's going to love me. It's not. Money is just an instrument. It's just a tool and nothing more. But for
definitely.
that, you need to know what you have in your pantry before you decide to bake that cake. So look at your budget, look at your savings, make sure you have an emergency fund. Ideally, if the work that you are in is just made blah, but it's not too toxic, if you can stay there so that you are building a bit more of these cushions or taking jobs on the outside, plus maybe starting as well your online business at the same time, not overwhelming yourself either, because again, where Chico and I are very big on allowing yourself rest and regeneration.
Definitely.
But maybe an hour now and then, maybe talk to people that inspire you in the same sector or do the same business, but start doing your due diligence where you are right now from a place of safety and stability. And then you will see at some point you will have built enough of a cushion, enough of a financial safety, and you will have built enough of a network and enough of a rolling kind of cash flow in your business. You will be able to decide whether it's a good move for you or not.
Definitely. And I also think that you never have enough money,
Yes.
because something else always comes on. So for me, I think also before everything else that Maida has suggested, and then on top of that, developing a different type of mindset, a wealth and abundance mindset, where you are open to looking at, planning in the long term rather than getting everything like immediately.
Yeah.
And May mentioned something really essential about podcasts. Listening to podcasts will also help you to focus on solutions more rather than the problems, and to be optimistic. Can see an example. I remember, like, I just had a flashback when we were younger with my mom. We would have like all sorts of different like financial challenges, but through that we found humor, and we found creative ways of how to bring things, that we needed, but not focusing so much on what we don't have, but more about being grateful of what you already have. And today we're quite fortunate as well with digital media and social media, where you have opportunities to start something like Maida was mentioning before, in smaller, manageable stages and for free. Putting yourself out there in terms of your creative ideas, not necessarily focusing on the naysayers, but more about your life vision, your purpose, and your reason why, which connects to helping people in the community that you want to contribute something to, or work along with. And then that will steer you in the direction of attracting like for like, and the process may not happen immediately. It's about persevering through it. And that brings us nicely into networking. Okay, so what if I struggle with networking? What would you say to somebody who struggles with networking, Maida?
So I would like to understand what struggle means. What do you mean?
Yes. So just in
The,
terms of, also go ahead.
yes. So if you mean that you don't like it, nobody does. Nobody likes the idea of having to put yourself out there. Nobody. Everybody feel awkward. We all like, I don't know where to start. I don't know how can I, what do I need to say? And going back to what we were saying in one of our episodes is start with getting interested in the other person. Start with there. So it's not about sending a sleazy message. Hey, do you know what your purpose in life is? Here I am going to help you figure that out. No, that's sleazy. But it's more about approaching people from a genuine wanting to understand who they are, what they do, and understanding as well that yes, you're not going to be everybody's cup of tea, and it's totally fine. That's the whole point. But you're coming from a place of building friendships. You're coming from a place of collaborating with others and from understanding where they are right now. And then you can go into this is what I do. I can help you. I think it's like everything that we do in life is when we start obsessing about something, it has this quality that is going to escape us. The more we obsess, the less it's available. Same with money, right? And the same thing about networking. Just take it easy. Come from a place of wanting to serve. Come from a place of wanting to understand the other people. Come from a place of not really selling anything. You just want to tell people this is what I do. That I am here to help you. If you have any questions, let me know. And you let them. You let them because this is the consent part as well of networking is everybody can have the choice to decide what they want to do and how they want to do it, and this is none of your business. Chico, do you have any other nuggets to give to us in terms of networking?
I think when you just said that, I was just thinking about when you focus on other people and helping, your anxieties and nerves are likely to ease a little bit more. You become less focused. It's just like when you need to rescue somebody. What is your first reaction that you take? You think about rescuing that person more than your fear. So it's looking at it that way, because I think most of the time we're always focusing on the self. I fear. So when you flip it the other way around, is how can I help these people in my specific arena, as in terms of entrepreneurship opportunities? The likelihood is that you will become fearless, and also does selfless make sense? Yes, yeah,
Yes, 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 yes,
yes,
yes, yes.
yes. It does make sense.
Selfless, as in not feeling offended or not taking things personally when
Yes,
the person is not interested in you. It's fine. It's totally
definitely.
fine.
Yes. And the other one that always impedes people is the self factor. They always think I'm going to be like, picking up phones, calling customers, and having to speak to them. There's other ways of connecting with people. And we've kind of touched on it. It's educating. And Maida talked about this as well. It's educating people. And that is also a component of sales. So when you look at it, that you're educating and you're helping, then that also increases your value offer to meet the people who you want to attract.
Yes, such as let's go there for a second and actually to finish as well. How do I start my online business, Chico? That's that's you. How do you start? What do you advise people to do if they want to start their online business?
Okay, so I can reflect back on the steps that I took, and Maida probably can share as well. What if the steps I took when I was an employee? I knew that I needed to change my mindset, because there's a significant difference. And in my employee mindset, I had no time. That was my reason. I was exhausted too when I came back home. So I had no time in my mind, to dedicate to learning. But what I found out was that starting to listen to podcasts, I was going to say on my way to work, some people at home now, changing routine, start by like listening more to positive things in terms of your passions, your hobbies, and your interests, and something will connect, will resonate, rather than going for opportunities which seem like the next best shiny bright object. Okay, because that often tends to steer into this thing of feeling I'm failing because I haven't achieved the same thing that other person has achieved. And it's not, often it's not aligned with true core values, life vision, and purpose. And those are the other key things you need as well, is to know your reason why. And I'll say it's beyond family, because I think that's the reason when we are like engaging in communities in my entrepreneurship with aspiring entrepreneurs, the first thing they always say is, I'm doing it because of my family. And that's it. And the answer to this, being a devil's advocate, is that all of us are doing something for our family, but not all of us are millionaires or successful. I think family, yes, we'll always think about them, but I think it's the quickest response to get out of taking accountability. Yeah. It's
Another
looking,
excuse. Another
yeah,
excuse, right?
yes. Because I don't think that is motivating, and I believe it's not motivating enough to be consistent, because otherwise we all would have been motivated and consistent. It's looking beyond that to people out there that you want to help, contribute, add more social value, um, and then that will prompt you to be more motivated to wake up, because those people are likely to be people who won't be naysayers than people who are closer to you. Okay, because they will see the solution that you are offering for them, especially when you touch to on certain specific like pain points. Okay, um, mine example would be I have fibromyalgia. So if you're very knowledgeable in chronic illnesses, have studied health for some reason, if you were to write a guidance template for me, I might be your raving person that says you are offering me that solution and you understand intuitively. So that's what I'm talking about without going too much into detail. And yeah, so I don't know if there's anything else you want to add, Maida.
It's more like a summary of what you did, of what you said is, and maybe that could be also the overarching message that we would like to communicate here is, um, starting an online business, start, as you said, it's a vision, it's a purpose, is taking an aligned action. It's also coming from a place where you are solving somebody else's problem.
Yes.
Because once you understand what the other person's problem is, and once you go into that zone of genius that we discussed earlier, where you have the skills and the tools and the experience to solve that person's problem, then you are on the path of doing something. And then we need to be very grounded and we need to be very much in the reality of things, because we will be, when you start as an entrepreneur, there's so much outside the comfort zone. Is like every day at the beginning, at least every day was outside my comfort zone every day.
Mhm.
It's tough sometimes because there's no instant gratification, as you said it so many times, Chico. It's a long call. It takes a very long time it can take a long time to get where your vision is telling you to go. But for you, it requires taking bold action, courageous action, is not giving up, is when you feel that you are financially strapped or there is a problem, then you can always pivot to something else. It's about, for me, it's about dancing with life. Everything is about dancing with life, going with the flow. The obstacles you can dance with, you can not decide not to. It's about going into a place where we are flexible, where we feel um, aligned. That's my favorite word. We feel aligned with our core value, our purpose, our conscious, and with our body as well, because we tend to forget sometimes that we have a body that needs attention, and the body and the mind, health is mental health and physical health. And this is how we get into a holistic approach to everything that we do. So that's really my conclusion of this series and of this time together is go back into the alignment inside of you. Go back into understanding that everything is a teacher and we are not meant to do anything alone. Overcoming our shortcomings, sure, we can do that alone. But being in the energy of co-creation and collaboration with other people and be mutually supportive, having strong boundaries as well, and always go into the why we're doing what we're doing, what's in it for me, and is it something that I can stand behind, or is it really just a greedy thing which is not for me anymore? Maybe it's a survival, maybe it was my past life, but it's not me anymore.
Fantastically summarized. And I always think as well that if you are feeling nerves, it's a good direction. It just means that you're following your vision, you're in line. Although it may not feel so nice, it may feel unsettling. Once you keep going through those feelings, it does become better, and you feel freer within yourself. And on that note, we would like to thank you for everyone who has followed us on this series. We hope you have found it an enlightening, experience where, for those of you who have been part of our community, you've had taken on board some of the things which resonate with you and applied them to your own to lifestyle to further your own personal and professional development. And for anybody else who's joining us towards the end, there's no end. You can always join us still, and you will be able to have access to those resources. Also, be fearless. If you've got any questions, feel free to approach both of us, Maida and I. This is a reason that motivated us to create this specific series, was to connect and network with like minds, and where we can also be able to offer solutions based on everything that we've shared and what we know. And I'd like to thank Maida as well for being, what is the word, partner in crime coming through?
It's good. It's a good crime. We slayed a lot of cliches. We slayed a lot of limiting beliefs. We slayed a lot
We
of self-sabotaging. So we're good.
Yes, we sure did, and it's been an enlightening journey. And it's, although Maida mentioned something about the end, I believe this is our growth, and we're going to continue whichever direction it is. We will remain connected and continue to provide you useful resources on our different platforms and together as well, as we have done in this journey. And I'll end it off here, unless Maida, you wanted to say something else.
I cannot top that up. So, so thank you, Chico, and thank you to everyone who has been very supportive throughout. Thank you.
Brilliant. Okay, bye for now. Until next time.